community hero is my son. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And why? Because he has done something so bravely. He gave himself senselessly with everything. Not just that. Not just that moment. He was always giving. I didn't know I was feeding homeless people in my home. When I lost him, I'm walking down the street in Sydenham. This young man came on his bicycle up to me. Hello, miss, you don't know me, but I know you're James' mom. What am I going to do? He's not here anymore. Who am I going to speak with? And I had to stand at the side of the street before burying my son to talk to this young fellow holding his hand. And the priest said, everyone, use one word to describe James. Humble, kind, forgiving, loving. I remember sitting there and I feel like I was in a Malcolm X or one of those movies because I was like, is this real? Miss Bradley was the principal and she held my hand and she said, Colette, you should be so proud. You should be so proud. And a couple of the kids, they stopped by me and they held my hand. I said, I just want to say thank you for James. I don't know what this child was doing. I don't know what he was doing, but he must have given himself so much. My name is Colette Hunter. And what do I do? I'm the founder of an organization. It is called James Ross Hunter Youth Sport. And this was named after my son, James, who I lost 5 years after moving here from Jamaica 11 years ago, which was to get involved in an altercation with a group of boys. I tend to call them gangs, but they're all friends of this youth center. They all used to come here and make music, you know. But somebody was upset with somebody, and he saw what was happening, and he went in the midst of it to try and calm the situation down. However, he did a very good job. I must say I'm proud of him because he saved that young man who was actually stabbed 3 times. But he went in and he took on the role of try to keep it peaceful and calm, but I lost him in the process. So we live literally just across the road here. So you're really in the midst of my community. Yeah, so we walked down that evening, an evening like this actually, because it was May, so it was a lovely, lovely day, lovely evening, and that's when I lost James. And I moved here. I had no idea about county line, grooming, gang culture. I had no idea what that was. I was sending my boys out, go make friends. What are you doing here? Go to the park. You know, Jamaican, we're always cooking rice and peas, and we always have excessive food because we never know who's coming by, you know. So that was my, you know, moving into London and embracing London as my home, as what I had back in Jamaica. And that's where James found comfort with coming here to this youth center, coming home with stories. Mom, you know, I wish some of those boys have a mom like you. Some of the things that they do, Mom, but it doesn't make them bad, you know. And you know, some of them don't like the police, but I think the police are okay, you know. But you wouldn't tell me names, but you would come home with stories. And that's when I realized the level of care that he had for individuals. The bell would ring, something in the bag, his shoes. You know, as mom, you're curious. The jacket in the bag, the jeans is in the bag, coming back. I'm like, James, your clothing? Yeah, Mom. My friends going out, they want to look dapper, you know. It was something else. But I started to observe his behavior and stuff. And he said to me once, he said, Mom, I know you're listening at my door, you know. I had no idea what he knew I was. But, you know, we had a relationship where we could talk about any and everything. And it reached a point where I went into his room one evening, was on his laptop, said, James, I need to speak to you. And I said to him, you know, I'm going to lose you because of that love. And he said to me, Mom, I'm prepared to face the consequences of my behavior. And when he said that to me, I didn't say one more word. I walked out, went into the other room next door to my other son. He was on his game. You reminded me when COVID came, we spent a lot of time walking together in the park. So, I do have level 3 in counseling, so I knew what happened to James will affect his brother. They were like twins. And he opened up that day and he said to me, Mom, you never remember that night when you came into my room and told me to turn the Xbox off, Mom? And you told me we were going to lose James. How did you know? What came to me at that point was, you remember when Mary was pregnant and Joseph said, you can't be pregnant. You're meant to be a virgin. You can't have a child. I said, we're Christian. And when our back is against the wall, what we do, we pray. So I've been praying. I've been praying, lighting candles after candles after candles, because I wanted to actually get clarity on my son's journey here because of that love that I see he's exercising and his risk of loving unconditionally. And when I said that to my son, he didn't say anything else. When I lost James, I didn't cry because I literally said goodbye to him. I was hugging, he told his girlfriend, I can't pass Mommy. She grabbed me, she hugged me. That's how much I knew was on that journey. I sent him back to Jamaica. He went to Jamaica and told his grandma won't be coming back. I lost him 2 weeks after that. But that day when I lost him, I was on my way to see his dad. And I was on the bus, and I was thinking about our conversation we had earlier. Because we were driving through Catford, and we passed this football area that I used to go with him and his friends, watch they playing the football, coming from Jamaica, you want to make sure who he's hanging out with and stuff. And he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes. He said, Mom, you know that they sold that football field over there? Where are my friends going to go now? And it was at that point, I was like, oh my God, my son is in so much pain, but caring for others. And on that moment, on the bus, I just wrote, I cannot change this world, but I can change my attitude regarding that, this world. That's what I wrote on my phone then. You could see my skirt, my green skirt in my lap. Not knowing that was the evening I was going to lose James. I'm always sending him the light. When I said light, I always want to know where he at, where you going, what you doing. And even at the Old Bailey, at the trial, they could see our conversation for the day. And I asked him, I'm having Chinese, what you want? And he said, Mommy, order me anything, blah, blah, blah. So I ordered the food, had mine, and I laid down and I jumped up because I didn't hear it. I was like, oh, that food must be cold by now because he's not here as yet. And it was then that I got the phone call. His girlfriend called me and said, Mom, James was stabbed, because we just lived literally just across the park here. And when she told me that, we proceeded to walk down, and I said to my son, other son, you don't need to come because this might be what we spoke about. He said, no, Mommy, I'm coming. And we walk along here past the youth center here, just along the road. And before anyone said anything to me, I said, James is gone. Because on the street, we'd walk before, and I would say to him, I don't know, there's something on this street that I didn't like. And he would like, Mom, get off the bus now. I want to show you there's nothing here to fear. He was that type of child. And I would say to people, no, I'll be walking on that street any hours of the day, any time of the night, and I don't feel that fear that I had before I lost him. But I've lost him on that same street, but still, I don't feel what I felt before. No, it's like there's a calmness when you walk along there. And I've heard other persons say that as well from the community. But what kept me going was the fact that we had that conversation, that I was going to lose him because of that love. And he said he was prepared. That kept me pretty much sane, if you want to call it. So I started the campaign here at the TNG Youth Center 11 years ago. The owner, the director then, did everything in his powers to get me to come down and have meetings with the groups that were gathering here that wanted to do monuments for James. I wanted to do this for James, and I didn't want to. I just wanted to stay home and pray. I just wanted to stay home and thank God for preparing me. Start the organization, and I wanted more pictures that James draw. So he was very talented. He draw as well. Beautiful artwork. So I said, Mom, I remember when James was around 10, 11, I could not stop him from drawing. I would buy a book, and he'd complete that book the same day. The whole book. The whole book. I literally said, I can't afford this. Yeah, I'm not buying it no more. You're finishing the books so much. So I said, Mom, when you come in, I found 2 postcards here in London that James made. I'm going to use this to raise some money. And if you could look in his room, I'm sure there's tons of books that he used to draw. I might be able to find some pictures that I can make some more postcards, right? So she brought the books from Jamaica. So the day after the trial, I was going through the books. And then the last 3 pages, in one of the book, I found a drawing that he made. And the drawing that he made literally showed the scenery, how he died. It shows the boy with the knife in the same hand. And that's how I know that witness was chosen for a reason. They had tons of witnesses, but they used one major witness that saw everything. He was turning his truck, stopped, and saw everything. So there was a knife in this right hand. In James' drawing, the figure had the knife in the right hand. And under the knife, James wrote the word blood. And he also drew drops of blood coming from the knife. And the witness said that he was shocked when he looked up. He recognized blood on the knife. And then in the drawing, there was a crowd. The same crowd that was described by the witness was in the book. And in that crowd, he threw 5 fireballs that connected in the crowd. How many persons do you think was charged with the murder? 5. So what happened after that incident? When I recognized the fact that he already recognized and already shared that moment when he was 11 years old, it manifested the same time he died. In his own handwriting, he even wrote it on one page 5 years later. So he even wrote that on there. So when I feel like I don't want to get up, I don't want to do anything, I just remember everything that led to the loss and everything that reminds me that sometime in life you cannot decide what you are to get done, but you're thrown in a situation where you just have to accept it, which is why the workshop that I've been doing here at the TNG, it's an emotional well-being workshop that was created and generated through my lived experience. And this is when I'll show them my book that I have on Amazon, which is called 5 Years Later, Memories from a Mother's Diary. And believe you me, this book was finished 5 years later after losing James. We can help each other to heal together. We can do what we can for the community. We can reach who we can reach, because knife crime can affect anyone, any age. He will always be my hero for what he has done for the community, for what he has done for his friends. One friend started a clothing design company in his name. One started a cooking thing. Now this child come to the UK, and within 5 years, he has bridged all this gap in making a change, engaging, empowering, and making a difference